Coming to you from the Spit Studios in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. This is the Spit Sports Show. Goodness gracious me. We just had 14 hours in Vancouver that did not go the way that we thought it was going to coming into this offseason. And the reason why it was so disappointing what happened in the first few hours of July 1st, and even somewhat before July 1st, to be honest, was coming into this offseason for Vancouver. There was so much reason for optimism, so much so that even the biggest Canucks skeptics, me, were very, very positive about how this offseason could go. Because to be honest, realistically, they were in the best position to contend as a top tier team in the NHL for the better part of 12 years. This was their best chance to do so. The team last year, by all accounts, overachieved. The vibes in the locker room were immaculate. The vibes in the city were immaculate. There was over $15 million in cap space to spend this offseason. And even with a couple guys being RFAs and UFAs, it seemed like if everything went according to plan, this could be the offseason that really put the Canucks on that next level of NHL teams, up there with the Florida Panthers and the Stars and Vegas and other the Rangers, premier contenders in the NHL. Whereas I kind of see the Canucks on that second tier of contenders with the Predators now and a couple other squads. And it started off really well. Their offseason did. I thought the Joshua signing was perfect. I thought they signed him to the perfect amount of money for the perfect amount of years. And he's such a great character guy, such a great talk it kind of player, such a great playoff type of player. And overall, his vibes in Vancouver as a fan favorite, you just couldn't let that guy go. So everyone was super excited about that. I was decently excited about the Tyler Myers signing. I thought it was a good deal for him. I was excited about the Hronek signing. I thought it was a little long, but you need someone to play with Hughes, and we didn't really overpay for him. So it started off really well. Again, we were in an optimistic phase as Canucks fans coming into this July 1st day, which we all knew was going to be just totally critical. And we had no reason to not be optimistic, especially considering the reports that one of these big fishes was going to come to Vancouver. And to be honest, that's what a lot of the offseason was predicated on. To take that next step, everyone kind of knew that the Canucks needed one more big scoring piece or one more legit top four defenseman to really put them over the top with their Vezina winning goalie and JT Miller coming off the best season of his life and Besser being in his prime now with his contract and Pettersson just entering his prime, Quinn Hughes just entering his prime. Like, this is the year where all of your core pieces are not going to get much better, and you want to take advantage of that. And they couldn't get any of the big fishes. They couldn't put their team over the top in any way. They couldn't get Getzel to Foley. Even the hometown kid Reinhardt didn't come. So plan A, B, and C all kind of fell through. Now, a lot of the media and a lot of fans are going to point to the taxes, and the taxes are a big part of it, obviously. Vancouver is a bad place to live in as a professional athlete because about a third of your salary is going to the government. I totally understand that. And obviously, that plays a big role. But I feel like that kind of lets the organization off the hook more than it should be. Because to me, a big part of what the organization does in free agency is selling their idea and their vision to these players. Like, by all reports, Getzel was in Vancouver for meetings. He talked to the team. Now, do I blame the organization completely for not bringing him in? No, but like, you have to sell the team. You have to sell the city. Maybe invest in a practice facility that isn't a million years old that might interest some of these players, that might show that this team is really committed and heading in the right direction. It's really, really disappointing as a Canucks fan because A, B, C, all of these big fish guys who could really put you over the top, none of them came here. And the media is going to let them all off the hook because of the taxes, when I think it has something to do with the fact that they weren't able to sell it enough. We have the most passionate fans in hockey, in my opinion. Am I biased? Probably, but we're definitely in that top tier. They couldn't sell that to any of these guys, not the hometown kid. I don't know. Money's a big part of it, but like as a player, as a human, you're not looking at just the money. You're looking at the situation, the city, the fan base, who you want to play in front of, who you want to play with. Who doesn't want to play with Elias Pettersson and JT Miller? Like, I don't think Getzel's in a better situation to win a Stanley Cup in Tampa Bay than he would have been in Vancouver. I really don't. So with all of that out of the way, with no big fish free agents, how did they recover? Well, one signing I liked. I like Jake DeBrusk a lot, to be honest with you. 7 years is a little scary. There's no doubt about it. But he'll only be 34 when it's all said and done. And the guy is just as consistent as it gets. He's been scoring 40 points a year since he was a rookie practically. And we're signing him coming off of a career low season, which historically has been a very good position to be for any sports team, to be honest with you. If you sign a guy coming off his worst year, you're going to get the best value possible for that asset. And 5.5 is super manageable. He's going to be a nice winger for Pettersson who can really help him 5-on-5. That's where DeBrusk is great. He's not really a power play merchant like Getzel is. Now, I say that in a positive way. Power play goals count just as much as regular goals do. But 5-on-5, Pettersson was really struggling at the end of last year, and that's where DeBrusk flourishes. So him playing with Pettersson, I think that's going to be a really good combination. Also, add that to the fact that DeBrusk only played 15 minutes a game last year. He's obviously going to be playing a lot more than that in Vancouver, so expect his production to go up big time. So I like that signing. But that's where my praise for this team ends. Like Derek Forbert, he's a slightly more handsome Ian Cole. He just kind of maintains the status quo as a penalty killing defensive defenseman. Like, cool. Dan Heinen, he's like a decent bottom six forward with some upside. Like, I think he's got a bit of electricity to him. I think that he could be a second line guy by the end of the year, maybe. Like Sherwood, hardworking fourth line guy, ball of energy. Don't get me wrong. I like him, but like, I don't know. It's just like, whatever. Desharnais, that's just a bad signing. Like, you're spending $2 million for a worse Tyler Myers. The guy can't skate. All of your bottom four defensemen, to me, are poor skaters, poor puck movers, which, if you remember, after we lost in the playoffs, I said the biggest thing the Canucks need to address is the fact that their defensemen aren't very good puck movers. Outside of Hughes and Hronek, they don't really have a guy who can consistently get a breakout going by himself or create opportunities to get to the other side of the ice. And I think that's still a glaring issue, especially now that their defense is even more stagnant. And I guess they're trying to build up their physicality for the playoffs. And like, I understand all of that, but man, you've got to have a defenseman that can move the puck outside of your top two guys. And all of that brings me back to the point of like, what are we doing here? This was supposed to be the offseason, the one that put us over the top, the one that, again, put us into that top tier of contenders going into next season. And we just kind of maintained. Probably got worse with the losses of Lindholm and his two-way play, and Zadorov, who at the end of the year was our second best defenseman easily. Now, all hope is not lost. The Canucks are obviously very aggressive at trade deadlines when they're contenders because they know that free agents typically don't sign there, so they got to trade for him. Now, Ehlers is probably still going to be on the market at that point, and they might make a move for Jeff Skinner. But again, these aren't life-changing moves. It just feels like the Canucks are content at staying at this level that they're at right now, which some people would probably like. Some people would see it as they made it to the second round last year and were a game 7 away from making it to the conference finals, and who knows what happens from there. They lost to the team that went to game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. And I get that, but I've been watching sports since I I knew how to talk, since I had eyes that could see pretty much. And in my experience, maintaining the status quo, just bringing the same team back hasn't been successful. Like the Nuggets last year in the NBA, they brought their entire starting 5 back and they got tossed in the second round by a young Minnesota Timberwolves team. The Brady's Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the year after they won the Super Bowl, re-signed everybody. Nobody left. They had practically the exact same roster as the year before, and they lost in the first round and had objectively a bad season. I think they were just above 500 or maybe just below it. On average, in the NHL, there are 3 to 4 new playoff teams a year in each conference. Now, I'm not saying the Canucks are going to miss the playoffs. That's definitely not what I'm predicting, but they have definitely put themselves in the position where they could be one of those teams. No doubt about it. Nashville's getting better. Nashville got way better. The Kraken have gotten better. Chicago is getting better. But like, they have a young superstar who's going to get them to the playoffs. Like, what a disappointing 14 hours for the Canucks, guys. This is bad. Couple just bad signings, one good signing. The rest of them just like, what are we doing here signings? This was supposed to be the offseason. I will say one more time. This was supposed to be it. Coming into it with this roster and $15 million in cap space, I was expecting to go into next year with just unfathomable optimism about this team, and I don't have it. Again, all hope is not lost, but for now, what a tragic 14 hours for the Vancouver Canucks. Just super disappointing. Anyways, I want to know your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think of the Canucks' offseason so far? I just recently made a video about the 2023-24 NHL season, which I think is the best video I've ever made. So please go check that out if you haven't already. Please leave a like on this video if you enjoyed what you heard today. Please subscribe. We just hit over 350 subscribers on the Spit Sports Show. Are you kidding me? That's big time stuff, guys. Join this bandwagon while it's still rolling, while you still can. And as always, I will see you in the next one.